Have we decided on anything? So we can free ball it? Or freestyle it, I mean? Slightly different context.
Snowball it. Wait, no.
Are we streaming? Are
Oh
we
yeah,
live?
of course.
Uh
Of
so
course we are.
that
I mean, it's kind of like free and clear either way. It is different mental image for each one of those examples.
sorry, what was the question? Just
Well, I was asking if there's a
so laughing
specific
at
topic, or if we're just going to
Oh,
kind of. I said free
uh
ball and then freestyle, but I think you got kind of
you
caught
were
up on
talking
free
about
balling.
Christmas as an adult versus
Free,
Christmas as a kid.
free balling.
Yes, you know, I Weird Al really should have done that version, that parody.
Such a missed opportunity.
I don't know. Maybe it was too easy for him. It's like, nah, yeah. The video would have been interesting.
Right?
Did you guys watch the movie, The Weird?
No.
Yes.
And?
It's all right. I didn't think it was as good as people said. And I'm a huge Weird Al fan. It was just, I don't know.
Were you turned off by the fact that it's essentially a fiction, not even a real type of attempt?
It's a parody at a, you know, biopic, which I get it. That's his thing. So, I mean, and it feels like a Funny or Die sketch just exploded into a movie because that's literally what it is. So it's fine.
Yeah, I went back and I watched the Funny or Die video, and I was like, "Holy cow, that is the movie!"
Yeah,
It's totally the movie. Olivia Wilde and
Yep.
like wow.
Evening, Scott.
Hello.
Yep. So everybody's kind of stand by while we kind of figure out what we're doing tonight. You'll see a little bit behind the scenes of us trying to figure out what to talk about.
Pre-show goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. If there's any holiday specific recommendations for a topic too, we're open at the moment. I kind of figure this out. Best holiday gift as a kid. Well, how about this? And I don't know if this is too off the cuff, but have you? I think we talked about it before. Have you guys seen 8-Bit?
Yeah.
So that being like the original NES system being the one object that the kid wanted more than anything else. Like a Christmas Story is the BB gun, the Red Daisy.
Red Ryder
What was
gun?
what was your version of that growing up? Did you have that one thing that would have if they made a holiday movie about you as a kid going after or wanting one item for Christmas, what would that have been?
You want to do our intro and kick into it?
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah. I feel like
Hey,
I've covered it
Donovan's-
for me before, but we can freestyle on it.
Okay. Donovan looks a little bit broken at the moment. I'm going to wait till he responds.
I'm trying to think. Oh man.
Let's go into it.
What one thing?
Or it doesn't have to be one thing. It could be two things or whatever. Let's just get into it then.
Okay.
All right. What's up, Internet? You're listening to the Makings Podcast, the podcast for makers, families, and geeks. Good evening, gentlemen. We're kind of on the precipice of the holidays here.
Ho ho!
No.
Holy crap!
Exactly. In fact, this might be the closest recording that we've done, at least like closest to the actual holiday we've ever done.
I think so. We should do a Christmas Day one next time.
Maybe that'd be kind of interesting.
Is Christmas
Good
next
morning.
year on a Thursday?
Yep.
Wow. Well, if I don't talk to you till then, Merry Christmas, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Merry Christmas to you guys too.
Yeah.
You guys been up to anything special this week? Getting ready for all the holidays and everything?
You would think that would be the primary thing that I'm doing right now, but it's not. Um, we got that done quite early this year. Well, quite early this December, I should say. We're not that proactive. And we sort of spur of the moment decided to renovate our basement. It's always been on our list. Not the entire thing, just one specific room in our basement, which has always been kind of like our media room. We got like a little couch and a love seat thing in there, and just it was like a 50-inch TV or something. Nothing crazy. It was a plasma for when those were the new hotness, and it's lasted over 10 years now. But I always wanted to do like a projector wall, but it would require some wall building in the room and other things. Those of you that have been to my house know, like when you descend into the basement, you can turn right and there's like a railing that kind of overlooks the little media area. We have like 9-foot ceilings plus drop ceilings above it, drop tiles. So there's a lot of room for flexibility. So basically, we just walled in that railing because you have the option of turning left at the basement, the bottom landing or whatever, and you can turn left and do a bunch of lefts and end up in the same room again. It's kind of like a big donut with our HVAC system kind of stuff in the middle as its own little room. And so I got a 4K projector. We got a 110-inch screen. Got a 4K/8K receiver. Got an Xbox Series X. We were on the wait list for like a month and a half. We've just now got it. So yeah, we're ready for 4K-ness. We just tested it without the screen up. We're still drywalling and like mudding and taping. That's what we did today. I put all the drywall up last night with my wife's help. She was awesome. And I was supposed to wait for her to finish the rest of the drywalling. We put the biggest sheet up, but then I was like, I wonder if I can do the one more sheet on my own. It was like a partial sheet because we had to cut it to make it fit this weird shape. And once I get that one on there, it's only 2 more to go. And I'm like, I think I went to bed at like 4:30 this morning, but I got all of it done. The back side of it is inside of the staircase, so we can still access like the wiring and stuff. I'm gonna run like speaker cables and stuff up into the wall. But we're doing like a little media test, proof of concept kind of thing. And we just projected on the freshly mudded, not screened wall, and like about 10 minutes before we started recording. And even on there, it's pretty awesome. And so I can't even wait for the screen itself to be installed. And I got a 4K in-game coming tomorrow with it supports 3D still, which apparently it's being phased out, unfortunately. But we do have a couple movies that are 3D. So I got the 3D version. I got the 4K version of in-game, and I think we have a 3D version of several other movies. We'll test out some of that stuff. So it's actually supposed to be pretty good. We'll see. I'll report back to see if it's a technology they should have kept going with or not.
And the nice thing is, if you do even just like one small video of this process, you could put it on this year's taxes.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good write-off right there.
That's true. I wish. I did get the projector is like the best one in that range for gaming because it has like a gaming mode that's like a low latency thing, since I do a lot of that, and since we're hooked up with an Xbox, it makes sense. So I'm looking forward to testing out the little features, and the receiver has got so many settings and so many modes and things that I could spend like eons in there, like fiddling with things. So if you don't hear from me, I'm in a book trying to figure out the Dolby whatever system. So
it takes me back years when I used to mess with the home theater setup stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to get the DTS and the Dolby setup.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can always buy more speakers because they have the Dolby Atmos now that has like the sound above you. They go like if a helicopter passes over you, they can replicate the overness. Now, in addition to aroundness. So it's there's always more you can spend. We had to find that line somewhere.
You're gonna have to watch Stranger Things again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The final season, y'all.
The final season.
Let's do it. That'd be worth it.
That would be an excuse to come out. Specifically,
we have a lot of excuses. Time. It doesn't have to be just that.
That's right.
Yeah, no. But I was saying we're trying to figure out a time for, to all go back out there again.
There you go.
There we go.
Hey, Donovan, what have you been up to?
Everything, everywhere, all at once. It seems. I every year at Christmas time, it always ends up being just this crazy mad dash at the finish line, trying to get everything set up and snowflakes put up and presents done and made and wrapped and bought and whatever. Cookies. We're doing cinnamon rolls and stuff this year. And every Christmas I'm always like, next year we're starting earlier. But kind of like we were talking about in the pre-show, these last couple Christmases have seemed to been especially busy and last minute. And so my wife and I keep telling each other, we're like, Christmas 2023 is going to be awesome because we're going to start in June. So we've been busy doing Christmas stuff, and my nieces came over to visit the other day, which was really fun. Having them in the house full of girls. My son was like, I'm outnumbered. I need reinforcements. I'm like, you need to talk to your uncle about that. I'm sorry. He had all girls. You need to, motivate him to try for a boy. But we went to go take the girls back to my brother's house. And as we pulled into the driveway, we were getting luggage from the back and all this other kind of stuff. And we saw this little tail dart under the Jeep. And my brother has these two little Chihuahua. No, they're not Chihuahuas. What are those other the tiny yip dogs?
Like
Pomeranians?
Okay.
Is that what they're called? Pomeranians? They're like really fluffy little
yeah.
faces.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah. So he's got these two little Pomeranians, and I thought it was just little Pomeranian. But as we were trying to go into my brother's house, this little black kitten tried to follow us into the house. We're like, "What? You got a cat?" And my brother's like, "No, we didn't get that. That's not ours." And my son stayed outside and was playing with the kitten. And we asked my brother, it's like, is this anybody's in the neighborhood? Is it? She's like, well, if it's not, we've just because their house backs up to a green belt. Is that what they call them? They get strays, cats and kittens and whatnot that come around their house quite often. And so my son and I were getting ready to go home after dropping all the girls off, and he was acting all weird in the back of the car. I'm like, did you sneak the cat into the car? He's like, yes. I'm like, I'm okay with this. This would be great. Have a kitten in the house, but you need to talk to your mommy because she's the final word on stuff like that. And he called her, and I was not expecting her to say okay to him bringing a stray kitten home. But she said okay, and we brought a stray kitten home, and we're a cat family now. And it is the weirdest adjustment because I thought we were never going to have a pet. And now we have this little purr box that eats 5 times a day and likes people food and is the funnest. It's the funnest adjustment. But the problem is now I'm like, oh man, I need to build cat stuff now. I need to build a perch. I need to build this. I need to build this. So now my brain's all going crazy with ideas for cat projects.
You have to build a Lego Ninjago cat house. And the internet will explode for you.
I know. Speaking of that, I had a couple of conference calls with some YouTube strategists this past week. One was with Kelly Blue Book, and the other one was with TubeBuddy. And I was explaining to them my current predicament with my channel and how I'm trying to grow, but I've been pigeonholed into this one category. And both of them, the first one, the one from TubeBuddy, was like, well, the best thing you need to do is delete your channel and start over. And I'm like, that's not an option. I'm sorry, that's not an option. But I had this 2-hour conference call with YouTube strategist from Kelly Blue Book, not Kelly Blue Book, Social Blue Book. Kelly Blue
Social
Book.
Blade?
No, not Social Blade. It's Social Blue Book. It's another one. Yeah, I guess there's a few out there. I had no idea that this was such a big thing, but. And anyways, we talked about what my options were and kind of talked through the best thing to do for my channel in order to, capitalize on the momentum I've got with Lego Ninjago, but also make other content that's not Lego Ninjago. And so I came away from that meeting realizing that I've made the decision to start a second YouTube channel. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename my current YouTube channel to something like Once Upon a Interchangeable Plastic Brick, or whatever, and solely focus on Lego and Lego Ninjago projects on that channel, because that's where the algorithm has placed that channel in the YouTube ethos. And then pull down all of my other non-Ninjago content and find a way to repurpose it on a new channel and basically start over, so that the algorithm can then take that non-Ninjago content and feed it out and find an audience for that. So over the next couple weeks, I'm going to be transitioning to into two channels now. And I've been working with Forby, who's coming up with a logo for me for my channel. So I'm rebranding as well, and all of this is kind of happening at the same time. And
it's pretty cool. You got Forby to come on for that. The guy that designed $1 million logo. Not too bad.
Yeah, it's been it's pricey.
You know what's gonna happen though, right?
Huh?
You're gonna finally tap into that one niche market that you've always been hoping for. You're like, why is this not catching on? You're finally going to find all of the fans in the world to glob onto your channel that are into Chick-fil-A cows as Borderland characters. And you're going to be right back, and then 3 years from now, like, man, you got pigeonholed again.
Yeah.
I look forward to that conversation.
But it's I actually feel really good about this because I'm capitalizing on the because it, like, all of my revenue, all of my income, all of my AdSense is from Lego Ninjago, and so like I don't want to take that away, but I still want to like be successful with my other content, and I think this is the best option. And if I do it well and do it right, like in a year from now, I can have 2 successful YouTube channels instead of just 1. So here's hoping.
What did your last Ninjago video perform as?
20,000.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which, I mean, compared to the other Ninjago stuff, isn't great, but compared to everything else,
I think you have to do a little bit of like a mathematical conversion now based on current numbers too.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's 3x less than what it typically would be. So anyways.
But yeah, there's it's been busy. Changes are coming, so it's gonna be busy the next few weeks, but I'm excited for it.
Good.
What about you, Sean?
Been busy too, just like everybody else. Kind of seems like everybody's brand. At the moment, especially when last minute orders come in. My wife and I just did 80 bookmarks this week and 4 tumblers for some schools in my school district. She's been hitting up bigger corporate and large organizations for orders, which has been kind of working out for kind of her side of the business. So we've been up till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning finishing up a lot of those things. Luckily enough, we have enough lasers to pull it off, especially since the Glowforge does not work that well when you need it to. So
oh no.
Yeah. It had trouble cutting out 1.5 millimeter plywood this last week, which is half the thickness that we usually do. So luckily, we finally got this cut out, and then we did all the engraving on the X tool. So
1.5. Oh, the bookmarks.
Yeah.
I was like, what would you make with that thin of bookmark?
It's actually a really useful material at that thickness. Not structurally, of course, but for other things. So we did that. We did the tumblers. So I had my family get together for Christmas on last Saturday, which was good. So I had about 35 people here at the house, which was madness because my family is just kind of weird when they get together and just kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to think about some sort of like metaphoric comparison I can make for them. Picture like a herd of cows standing around, and being in the way at every turn and not knowing how to get into the areas that we've set up for them to sit down and converse. But no, this and my family, they're all bigger than me. I'm like one of the smallest of my family, so we're some big people. But it was fun. That family only, that group only gets together maybe once, twice a year, and it's also bittersweet because my grandmother's in the hospital and may not make it through the week. So we'll see. 97 years old though. So,
Man.
Nice.
and also meeting with that side of the family, I have I don't know if I'd call him second cousin. My cousin's son. I was talking to him because he also has a YouTube channel, but he just hit 116,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. So if you're into Legos and stop motion animation, check out Portal Masters Studios. He's doing some cool stuff over there. Probably a little bit early for a shout out, but yeah, congrats to him. And freaking get the play button before me. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Cool.
Yep. So this week, it looks like we kind of agreed on, at least right now, we'll see where the conversation takes us. There's a lot of holiday movies that are out that talk about, especially like from a kid's perspective, of that one thing that you want for Christmas that you want to find under the tree on Christmas morning. For Christmas Story, it was the
Red Riding
yeah, there you go. And the movie 8-Bit that came out, I think it was last year. It was an NES Nintendo system, and there's probably a whole host of other ones. Jingle All the Way was the little action figure guy. I forget his name. There's a lot of movies that talk about this, and it's a big part of being a kid and looking forward to Christmas. Just wondering what that was for you guys, if there even was a one thing. And it could have been different things over the course of the year. I mean, because every year there's new things to want to play with and put on your Christmas list for Santa.
For myself, I can think of three things, and some of the things I ended up getting, some things I didn't. The first one was, of course, the NES. I remember it seemed like every neighbor around me was getting one for like a year or two. It felt like forever as a kid. The Rob the Robot and Zapper and all these things. I'm like, oh, you can play it, and they would like, I was like terrible at it. And then one of my best friends got one. That's the first time I ever played it. Was at his house, and I remember getting stuck between the pipes in World 1-1. just like jumping with Mario, like, what is this thing? It's so crazy. Oh, I fell in the hole. Oh, Goomba, all these things. And I finally got one of those, and that was pretty epic, of course. My other item that I always wanted, it's a tie between the Castle Grayskull playset, where it had the trap door that was activated by the little throne.
I had that as a kid. I loved it.
Oh, so good. So it was amazing. Because I would like take all my He-Man figures and like have them ride the Lionel train set that went around the tree, and I would like set up their figures and stuff to like. I was probably damaging the hell out of the thing, considering those are classic collector's items now, even at the time. I would say a Knight Rider big wheel. I got one of those, and had like a windshield, like a plastic windshield, and it didn't have anything lit up on it, but you would imagine a little red, for kit. It was a kit version of a big wheel, so I would rock it down the hill on those things, and your feet couldn't keep up with the speeds that thing was.
Did it have the little light that was like?
It didn't move. It had a sticker on it. It wasn't. This was the 80s, so at early 80s they didn't have that sort of technology built in. I mean, you could easily do that now, and I'm sure it was a pretty penny back then without it. So that was awesome. But the one thing I never got that I forever, like anytime a family member like, oh, I've got a surprise for you, I would just immediately think, this is it. This is the time. This is my time. I'm going to get it. I gotta act surprised. I'm expecting it. I gotta, game face. Let's go. And it was always never that. So I had a video about it. The original Robbie the robot is like a Radio Shack remote control robot. It's like it had autonomous features. It had like a little tray. You could move. You could put like a little soda or snacks on it, and it would drive around. It was pretty neat. It had like a little personality. It would like backtalk you, and like do its own thing. It was super cool, and that spawned so many other interests in my life. But this is Robbie Jr. Okay, this is the small one. There's got to be a senior out there. That's the one that I wanted at Radio Shack after I got the junior. After I think I saw both, and I ended up getting the junior because, of course, you always have the parents that you want the Transformer set, and they give you the GoBots or whatever it is. You want the Lion Voltron, and you end up with the damn vehicle Voltron, even though they're way rarer now, and there's like 10 or 15 vehicles that come together to form a giant Voltron version, which I wasn't bitter about that at all. No, I wanted Robbie Sr., and that thing had like a tape deck in its chest, and like I remember it way more cooler,
I think I remember that one. Yeah.
Cooler than it actually is. I looked it up, and I almost bought one a month ago, which is not even a complete set anymore because there's like so many little accessories that come with it, and that even has like a lead acid battery, so it's like no
Whoa.
joke. Yeah, it's like crazy.
It must weigh a ton.
It probably did. I would never have known. I never got it. But yeah.
See, that's why we had muscles as kids, because the toys were heavy.
That's right. If you clobbered a kid with a Transformer, you're going to give him a concussion back then. The die-cast metal parts.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
But that was my grail item I never got. Maybe one day. How about you guys? What are some fond memories for you?
So I could go next. Growing up, I always wanted like one of the video game systems, especially after the NES came out. And my best friend growing up had one. And what's funny is like he was like really kind of flippant about it. He didn't really care. He had it, but he was kind of spoiled anyways. And I always wanted to play one over his house, but he never really wanted to play. But whatever. And I'd always ask for one, and I'd never get it. My parents didn't really believe in video games that same way, even though I was more technologically inclined. But before that, this is a period of time when my dad was divorced and we were living with my grandparents. And the thing that I wanted more than anything else at that time was and I'm not sure, I mean, most of our audience is probably a little bit older anyway, so they probably connect with this, but anybody under 30 or 35 may not connect. But one of the coolest things to ever get for toy was like the headquarters for whatever brand it was that you were into, whether it was the G.I. Joe base or Castle Grayskull. There was a really popular TV show during the time called Mask, and this is roughly 85, 86, somewhere in there. And the playset, the headquarters was a gas station that turned basically into a fortified fortress.
That checks out.
And, yeah.
The sheets around here are like, it's like Fort Knox.
I mean, because you want missiles, fired at a gas station.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a pretty good recipe. And I think I remember the cost of it back then was about $30 or $35, which was a good chunk of change when you figure minimum wage is like $2 or $3 an hour, maybe even less. And my dad was a single parent at the time. Wasn't making a lot of money. He was trying to save up because of our current living situation. And I had asked for it, and I didn't think I was going to get it at all. But I remember waking up Christmas morning and opening the present and seeing it, and I was probably almost in tears. I knew that it was not easy for my dad to pull that together, and I'm not even sure how he did. But I played with that thing nonstop, and of course I mixed it with my He-Man figures and whatever else I had, a couple of Star Wars figures, just the way we used to play back then.
Yep.
And I think it might have been the only time, at least in memory as a kid, that I had gotten the one thing that I had kind of wanted and asked for. And it was really cool. And what's funny is I'm going back and I looked at like a screenshot of it, and I mean from a kid's perspective, it was cool, it's great, and everything's imagination powered. But I'm looking at it right now, I'm like, what a piece of junk. The plastic was even like brand new, it was warped because the plastic was so thin, and a lot of some things made back then didn't hold together that well. Plastic warped really easily. And I'm like, I don't even know how that thing stayed together. Because I remember it used to have like these tabs that would push into the base, and it would fall apart from time to time. And I have no idea what happened to any of those toys when I was growing up. Actually, I have some idea, but maybe that's a story for another time. Well, we'll keep things positive on the show for right now.
Oh my gosh. If it's anything like my Nintendo collection story, I can only imagine.
Yeah, don't get me started. Nope.
Wes is shaking his head.
No. No, no, no.
Oh, that still hurts my heart.
Yeah.
Cause like, I mean, as a kid, I was like that, like really like wanted a Nintendo and Game Boy and like all those. And like I was lucky enough that I got a Nintendo, and again I still remember going with my grandma to JC Penney's and her getting me a Game Boy and taking that Game Boy home, and I still remember playing freaking Tetris on that, get like just vivid memory, like still remember all of that. And it's amazing. I remember unwrapping my NES. I was like, ah. But the problem was my parents got with the Nintendo. They got me a subscription to Nintendo Power,
Yep.
which was great. Loved it. Loved those magazines. They were part of my Nintendo collection. Oh, I'm gonna cry. But for years, like for 10 years, I got Nintendo Power, and the problem was, every time a new issue would come out, I would be like, that looks like the coolest game ever. Like, oh my gosh, I want that. And it was terrible because it's like every quarter that those came out?
Was it not monthly?
Was it monthly? It might have been. Yeah,
I thought it was,
It is. Yeah.
especially during that time
but
when
like,
magazines were cool and relevant.
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it was so cool because like they would put out the maps of like Star Tropics 2 or whatever.
Sure.
And like all the little secret things. And so it's like, oh, you'd have to wait till Tuesday to go down to the video store because you could rent a game for $1 on Tuesdays. And so it would have to wait till Tuesday to see if they, had the game. But since other kids in the town had Nintendo Powers too, they want to rent the game. So you had to get there early enough in order to get the one copy of the game.
Yep.
Otherwise, you had to wait for another week. But yeah, so I can't think that one thing. I don't know if I can think of that one thing that I obsessed of as a kid, just because it's like, obsessing over an NES, but then I got an NES, obsessing over a Game Boy, but then I got a Game Boy. But then the aftermath of all that was obsessing over everything that came out in every Nintendo Power every month. So it was kind of everything. I was obsessed over everything Nintendo.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Although I did, like, thinking about it, one thing that I did want for like years and years and years and years was a computer. Because like at that time, my dad did a lot of work with computers. He like had his own business that he ran, helping to like fix people's computers and set things up and do programming and stuff like that. And so I was always around computers, but I could never like play games on them because they were work computers. So you don't play games on the work computer. And I still remember the one time, not the one time, but like one time when I got a new game, and I was so excited to play this new computer game and talk to my mom and dad into playing this new computer game. I installed it in the computer only to find out that the game had a virus on it.
Ooh.
And it was before my parents learned that you need to back up everything. And so like the day after installing this new game on my parents' work computer, they lost everything because of this virus.
Whoopsie.
And that was like, this is why I need my own computer, because I'm like, I won't be ruining yours. But having my own computer, I think, was one thing that I like really, really, really wanted as a kid.
One of my best friends, he growing up, I forget what grade, we were probably in middle school or something, I don't know. And he got like a computer, it was like a hand-me-down from a hand-me-down. It had DOS on it of some early variant or something. And we didn't know anything about computers at the time. Like before that, I had a Tandy TRS-80, which had BASIC on it, and it was like
I had a Trash 80.
Yeah. The keyboard that hooks to your TV. That's what basically it was for me. But I remember we were like not knowing how to use it, and we're like, well, we got to figure out something. And I'm like, oh, well, let's look at the list of commands. And we're like, oh, we figured out how to do that. So, /help or whatever, /, and get all these options. And I'm like, okay. We're like, what do you do? How do you like? What do you do on it? I don't know. We keep looking, and there's one word that kind of stood out to me. I had heard it before mentioned, and I think that's what you do. And we even looked it up in the dictionary. We're like, format, to prepare something to be used. Okay, that sounds like what we want to do. And we're like, let's do it. Format.
Oh, no.
No invalid syntax. You need your drive letter. Oh, okay. Format C, because or whatever, like, okay, format C, let's go. And then that thing was a piece of shit after that. Computers, these are junk. They don't do anything. I prepared it for use. Nothing happened. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Good luck. And I left. Who knows what game he had on there or anything on there? I didn't know. I prepared it for use. It said in the dictionary. It should have worked.
That is great.
That is fantastic.
They should have called it something else. We were ready to use it. It was clear not ready. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my earlier computer memories. The other one was on the TRS-80. We had a tape drive that you would load your games on. It wasn't like a physical, it wasn't like a tape, like you refer to a game cartridge as a tape. It was a literal cassette tape that would load the games. It had like a Disney Mickey Mouse game. I don't remember what it did, but I remember you start loading it and it starts reading the tape, and you had to literally go downstairs for breakfast and come back, and it might be done if it didn't fail. And I love that stuff. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I had like an instruction book that came with it that told you about how to program stuff. I'm like, oh, sweet, programming. And I was probably 8 or something, I don't know. And it had BASIC on it. But at the time, I guess they did not, you're entering all this code. It's like 10, then your command, then 20, your command, 30. Every line you had to type the next line. And I don't know, hundreds of lines in there. It's supposed to like play music or something with an onboard speaker, like some sort of MIDI tone or something. And I try to execute it. It doesn't work. And then I like reviewing the code, and there's a mistake like halfway through these hundreds of lines, and they didn't have the technology to move a cursor back then. It was just like a typewriter essentially.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I guess I'm not programming ever again. And that was probably the last.
Yeah, that's where you had to use insert on the keyboard. You go back. Yeah, I remember those days.
Painful.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
this is reminding me of something. My parents, I cannot remember the name of this computer, but it was a laptop. I don't even know if you would call it a laptop, but like its sole purpose was basic programming, and it was flat, and it had a screen on top and then a keyboard underneath, and so it was almost like a tablet, like very old school tablet. And you would just write basic code on it. And I remember like sitting in the back of my parents' car, like writing text-based adventure games in BASIC, and then like handing up to my mom in the passenger seat. And so she would like go through and like try and do it, and then figure out it's like, oh, like she reached the end, so I need to write more of this little text-based adventure game of like yes no questions, and like I got to the point where I could do like little animations in BASIC. It was terrible because it'd have to like load, and then it'd load again, and then it'd load again. But it was something. And I wish I could remember the name of that computer, because I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. This little, like I said, all it was for basic programming. But it was so cool, like sitting in the back seat of the car, just like.
Oh, that's cool.
And then handing it up to my mom so she could play my little text-based adventure game that I wrote.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question for you guys.
Yep.
This is kind of like the next evolution of the conversation in a sense. You guys, what's a gift that you got that you did not ask as a kid? What's a gift that you got that you did not ask for, were not expecting, that turned out to be one of the best gifts that you ever got? If there's even something that fits that category for you. Unexpected, but turned out to be great. I can go first to kind of kick things off.
Sure.
Growing up, Legos were so popular, And I think if I remember correctly, I had asked for Legos for Christmas. I don't know if it's a certain set or whatever, but instead of Legos, I got Constructs,
Yes, I'm a
which
Constructs kid for sure.
yeah, which was basically looked like a bunch of iron or steel girders
Yeah, I was so
with
mad.
connectors.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is still that same time in my childhood where I lived with my grandparents, and I think it's the Christmas after the whole mask thing or whatever, and it was a huge box, and on the front was this mechanical looking dinosaur thing, and it was it was cool. It was massive. I didn't know what it was. I was kind of put off by it a little bit when I opened. I'm like, what is this thing? But it was one of the best toys I think I'd ever gotten as a kid. And I think that is the only thing I still have from my childhood.
Oh, wow.
I still have that set. And actually, I gotta bring that down. I still haven't had my kids play with that one, but they've played with other Constructs one. My daughter actually really likes it. But yeah, that's probably the best unexpected gift that I got. It was actually really good, just from like a mechanical standpoint. There was like pulleys and strings you can use to actually move different parts, and it was
Yeah,
great for that time.
my Construct set. I would agree with you. I was into Lego, but then I ended up getting one of those as knockoff building set
Hmm.
that it had a motor on it, and you could build
Oh yeah, that
different
was one of
things
the
with
later
it.
ones. Yeah.
For the Constructs one, yeah.
Mhm.
And I would build like a helicopter, and of course you're hoping it would like take off. It never did. It's like the little flimsy. They're almost like a really thin piece of plastic. It had like two hooks on the end, and those were
Yeah,
like the
I had a couple
rotors.
of those.
Yeah, and it was never going to take off. But you would build all kinds of stuff. You build like little vehicles with it. It would drive around, horribly sounding, straining the motor on it. But yeah, I agree. The constructs were amazing. Um, hmm. Besides that, a little bit of struggling.
So
Uh,
I Legos were like a huge part of
yeah,
like probably the biggest part of my childhood growing up. I think I'm trying to think. Yeah, probably. But there was always a disconnect because you would see like the advertisements and the pictures on the box, there would always be like scenes that the Legos would be in, but then you're like, oh, this is on my carpet and it's not as epic or whatnot. And I remember one year, my mom made me um, a Lego scene set, and so she got like fabric and cut out like this ocean and made islands and made like a mainland and stuff like that. And so I got a pirate ship, like the Legos pirate ship with the blue and white stripes, because there was one with red and white stripes. I got the blue and white stripes pirate ship, the Buccaneers or whatever they called them back then. And so my mom made this whole like scene for me to put my pirate ship on in the ocean and then like build little things in the on the islands and on the mainland and put my knight's castle on the mainland, so I had my pirate ship on the ocean and the mainland, and that was the coolest thing, like the simplest thing, because it was just fabric and different cutouts and designs and things like that, but it was just so cool to like have a scene to play on my Legos with. I thought that was awesome. Awesome, awesome.
Wes is still deep in thought,
He is.
providing some context for the audio podcast.
yes, yes. Hmm. I don't know. It's not specifically Christmas. I do remember end up having a ball with a slip and slide. That was fun until it was not fun. We all had the injuries with slip and slides, I'm sure. Running too fast or not having it, wet enough, and it you don't slide at all, and
Or sliding
Oh,
off the
the
end.
burn.
slide off the end. Yeah, you get
Yeah,
the grass,
grass.
stain, you get itchy from the grass.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I don't really have an example of something that off the top of my head besides the constructs thing. Of really ended up loving that. Um, I would always I don't know. I always love just drawing on random things. Every scrap of paper my grandmother would ever bring from her office. She used to work at a bank, so she would end up with all these copies of forms that would from the copy machine that weren't the right ones or whatever, and so I just would draw on the backs of every open sheet of paper. Doesn't really have any pertinence to the specific story, but it yeah, that's all. I don't really have anything for that. I was even in retrospect, I don't have any negative memories that I turned positive. I just always enjoyed most of the stuff I got. So, regardless,
It's a good thing then.
yeah, I was in Boy Scouts. I ended up doing stuff with rocket or model rockets a lot, which I didn't think I would enjoy, but I think I did enjoy that so much that it was cost prohibitive where I lived. I would end up getting those things stuck in trees so much. We didn't have. I lived in a small neighborhood, or a big neighborhood, but a small yard in Richmond, Virginia, and you couldn't launch those things there, and it was not walkable to go to a football field or anything like that around my house. So, well, check this stuff out. Yeah, you can even angle it. I was like trying to angle the launcher, like, oh, the wind's blowing, you want it to fall between these trees, like over the street. No, it doesn't matter. You will lose it.
Did you ever get a gift you hated? I'll go first. It just is an example of how terrible a mindset I had as a little kid. But we did a gift exchange at school. I think I was in, hold on, 4th grade. I think I was in 4th grade, and we did like a white elephant gift exchange at school. And I was so excited for this. I don't know why, but I was so stupid excited for this white elephant gift exchange. I think partly because it's like growing up, we were like super poor, and Christmas time was always like amazing because there was lights and there was like hope, and like it was the one time a year I didn't feel poor. But like I was so excited for this gift exchange at school because I was like, I may get something like super cool, and my mind was going crazy with all the things that I might get, and it ended up being lifesavers.
What?
And I was so pissed off that I got lifesavers in this gift exchange at school. I remember I threw a fit, and my parents, like my son does now, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally remember being exactly like this as a kid and like throwing a fit over like, getting something. Like somebody gave me a little book, and you open at the book, there's
book.
like
Yep.
the storybook with the
storybook.
lifesavers.
Yep.
Oh man, I was so mad. I was like, these are stupid. I don't want no lifesavers. Looking back, I'm like, wow, I was a spoiled, dumb kid. But I still remember being so mad at that time, like being like, I could have got something cool, but I just got lifesavers. I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that.
I think I was probably 7 years old, and a family member gave me a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Really?
Yeah. And being a 7-year-old male in the 80s and getting a doll from this one particular family member that I won't even say here was, I don't even remember my
listening.
No. Just I don't remember my exact reaction, except that like, what the hell is this? Like I could not understand like why somebody would give me that as a gift. And it's not necessarily like it was a cheap gift or anything. And I mean, they were in high demand. They were hard to get at that time. But actually, I think it might have been a little bit older, but not by much. But it seemed like such a weird gift for me at that time. I look back and I look at the collectability of it, and I could look at it differently now. But there's no way I would have had that perspective as a kid. I'm like, where's my toy? Where's my basketball? Where's my all other things that it could have been? But it was a doll that sat on a shelf, and I don't think I ever touched. So there's that.
I do remember getting the the glowworm, the one that you like squeezed and it lit up.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. Was it Cabbage Patch line?
No, might have been a similar toy manufacturer, but it wasn't. I know what that is.
But you know the glowworm, right?
Oh yeah, I thought it was kind of cool back then.
Yeah, I remember getting that, and I was like, when would I ever use this? Every night, I would use it every night because the little thing would light up, and that was the coolest thing in the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
For myself, one of the disappointments I remember, and it wasn't specifically from Christmas, but coming to the realization that the real world does not match your expectations, came in the form of a Boys Life magazine that I had a subscription to because I was a scout. And in the back of the Boys Life magazines, they always had these mail order, like gimmicky toy things, and like
they always look so cool in the magazine.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
X-ray glasses.
That's my example. Yep. You had to wait like 8 to 10 weeks, so like you better bet every day I'm like opening the mailbox.
Creek, Michigan.
Yeah, dude, those X-ray glasses did not work. I mean, it looked like it worked on your hand. I'm like, well, I can see the bones in my hand. I'm like, no, it doesn't work for anything else. The other one, I was a teenager. Myself and several of my friends, I might have mentioned this in the past, over the last 18 years we've been doing this podcast, but he had a basement that we, it sounds worse than it is the way I describe it, but we set up mattresses in the basement for fighting on. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
And so basically like somewhere soft to land on. Because we had like a Jeet Kune Do, like Bruce Lee book. We had Bruce Lee movies we watched. Like we had like these subscriptions to like the Black Belt magazines and the like martial arts like hardware, like kind of like mail off catalog stuff where you get like boxing gloves and all these things. We would save our money, all right, from our lunch. The leftover money from lunches at school. So like let's say it was like 85 cents for a lunch, we would get 15 cents and we toss it in a bin. And we each did this, over the course of a school year or whatever. It builds up. We sent away for several things over the course of this interest, which lasted years. We did this a lot. Somehow we didn't end up with major injuries. Our main rules was like no hits intentionally to the groin area or the face. But you could do, you could do like arm bars and just practice things. If they tap out, you let go. It's all for fun. We're not hurting each other. We're just kind of like trying stuff we see or whatever. And so they had several things that we ordered. When we finally got the money to do it, and it reminds me of stuff that they did in Napoleon Dynamite so much with the martial arts stuff, and also the time machine that they would order, send off for and be disappointed by. So we had ninja stars that we ordered. Looked super cool. Didn't stick into trees like we expected. We got ninja climbing gear, which included these hand mitt things that had spikes on them, and then these
claws,
these things for your shoes that had like spikes come out the end. Try to climb a tree. Didn't work. We had ninja suits that we would like sneak around the neighborhood, and see if you get spotted, right? But we tried to climb a tree. Did not work. It hurt a lot. So that was a bust. We did get sparring gear, but we only had enough for one set. So it's one head thing, 2 feet things, and 2, hand little mitts. And so like, who wants to be the target, basically? Or you're limiting yourself to one fist and your right fist and your left foot, and you don't get a head thing. Sorry. Because those things were expensive back then. And then the final thing, we were not very good at, we ended up being pretty good at high kicks. But we always wanted to get better. You got to strive to be better. So there was this apparatus that we purchased that he had the kind of unfinished basement, so you had access to like framing.
Oh, you guys did not have the pulley system?
Oh, absolutely, man. We ordered this thing. We had 2 pulleys that you would set up and a rope in this like little strap thing, and you would strap it around your leg, and you would like loop it around and like pull down on the rope, and it would raise your leg up higher to kick higher. And you can't pull hard enough by yourself, so like, here, buddy, you try it. No, dude, this thing's that. We would like pull down on it and like just sit there for trying to watch a movie or, like get up and do it for like 10 minutes or something, it probably did have some sort of minuscule, advantage or help, but it was not as good as the magazine led us to believe. And so we were, I don't know, we had a lot of fun out there, but those magazines, let me tell you, like they sell you the world and do not deliver on those dreams. Except the ninja suit. Those things were awesome with the little black hood. And yeah, then no one ever saw me except when they obviously did. But I like to think I was invisible while wearing them.
Speaking of Nintendo Power, when Ninja Gaiden 2 came out and it had the tutorials on how to make the mask.
Oh, man.
And like, you're talking about the little things with the hooks on the hands. There was an order form in the back of that one particular magazine where you could get the tree coming, like, trained to be a ninja. I was like, I still remember that.
We were all about it. We had books that were supposedly like banned, from like the army or whatever, like ninjutsu books and one of them had like meditation techniques. And I swear I did some of that stuff. And I don't know if I like limited my like intake of oxygen or whatever. Like I was totally tripping balls when I did one of them. And I was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'm sure it did work. But like I totally had like it had some sort of experience where it like scared me enough where I didn't want to do it anymore. I don't know if it was like
you were hyperventilating,
hyper breathing, and then I didn't hyperventilate and hold like the edges of my neck. That will make you like pass out. But they did other like breathing techniques and things that I just remember scaring myself with them. So maybe they were effective. Maybe that's why they were banned. I don't know.
There's that era in the 80s of certain martial arts movies I think had a pretty big effect on our generation. I had seen Kickboxer and Bloodsport and The Last Dragon and all those so many times. And I had the same fantasies. I never was able to go to that extent and order any of that stuff, but when I was old enough, I did martial arts classes and everything, I guess, quote unquote, properly.
Sure.
But I always wanted to try that stuff, but never was able to. But hearing your story kind of fulfills that need that I wanted as a kid.
My buddy Matt and I, like the one that had the computer that I prepared for use, he was his most common martial arts buddy that we would do this stuff. And we ended up getting like a free lesson with you get like a gi or something like at a local karate thing. And it was like 40-minute drive from our house, which is not feasible, but we did the free class. And they did think that we took classes somewhere else, which to me, that was like validation enough because we could do like the little spin kicks and like we could like jump up, from where you're laying on your back to like the little spring up move. We could do that very easily back then. We were pretty good. For never having official training and beating the shit out of each other. But that was like the most praise I ever got when they thought we had taken classes elsewhere. When we went in there as like novices, and we're like, okay, we're good. We don't need to keep taking classes. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. Keep on keeping on. And we were pretty awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah. Speaking of awesome, our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks, they help us stay awesome with their awesome contributions. It's so awesome. Everything is awesome. Including our top patrons, Jordan, Nolan, Square Splinter, and Clinton. Thank you guys so much. And I tell you what, we relaunched our Valheim Making Geeks podcast server, and we kind of all had new characters. We've been playing it the last couple weeks. It's been a blast. It's been super fun. They had a new update come out in the last few weeks, which kind of kicked off our inspiration to doing this. And we have hilarious conversations on Discord. Everything, it's a great little community we have here, and I appreciate all of them for taking part in it.
It's been ridiculously fun playing Valheim with everybody. It's been awesome. Yeah. Especially considering I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time, but still enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And we have room for more.
We do.
Yeah. So what are you guys geeking out about this week? I can go first. I have mine prepared. Last week I was geeking out about a podcast with Todd McFarlane as a guest. And there was a part 2 that came out this last week that I wasn't even aware that it was going to happen. And the part 2 was just as good, if not better, than the first. So got almost 2 full hours, or actually probably almost close to 3 full hours of an interview with Todd McFarlane. Is on the Tim Ferriss podcast. You can go ahead and check that out if you have an interest. In this new one, he talks about I forgot what he talks about. He talks about more the a lot of business lessons in the creative field, and basically getting your work seen and published, and a lot of good stuff. Read the description on the podcast, because I'm doing a horrible job of remembering the context right now, but it's definitely worth your time. From a business perspective, from a creative perspective, check it out. So, have you guys?
Myself, somehow I missed. I'm usually pretty on top of like latest trailers or whatnot for Marvel movies or whatever. Somehow I missed Loki season 2 trailer, and I watched it.
Was it a full trailer? I thought there was only like a small snippet they showed.
I think it was. I saw, the reason I was confused is because I saw like a upcoming in 2023 video, and they showed a few clips, and they made it seem like, oh, it's something we already announced, the way they were talking about it. And it was Tom Hiddleston that was doing the narrating for the little Disney Plus salesman blurb for this year coming up. And I looked up, and I'm pretty sure it was legit. It was a it was a Loki season 2 trailer, and they showed a lot of stuff that I had never seen before. And it didn't look like recycled footage from the first one, like a lot of the crap trailers people put together. It was pretty cool. I'm really excited about it. That was probably one of my favorite shows since Disney Plus started with the Marvel content, and I look forward to seeing it again. More of the retro future stylings, like the 1950s tech stuff. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make some of it. I want to have like the either Miss Minutes or the bot that kind of analyzes Loki at the beginning, the little robot thing with all the arms come out. I would love to have that hanging in the corner of the shop somewhere. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
After our AI conversation last week, I went and watched Film Riot's video about AI tools for filmmakers.
Yep.
And holy cow, that video blew my mind.
That's what I was talking about.
I was like, this is crazy. Needless to say, I got colorist AI because I do try to be, I don't want to use the word, but I do try to be as cinematic as I can with the videos that I make by myself on YouTube. And color grading is always one of those not tricky spots, but it's one of those things that I probably obsess about a lot in all of my footage, because I shoot in log, and so trying to color grade every shot with everything that I do has always been pretty rough. But I got a program called Colorist AI that is, oh my gosh, it's fantastic. I'm like, dang it, I'm all in this AI stuff now, because I use Topaz AI, now I'm using Colorist AI. I've been playing around with Chat GPT. I'm like, this is the future. For better or worse, this is the future. So I've been geeking out about AI stuff ever since the conversation last week.
Very cool.
You know what you can geek out about? You can geek out about the stuff that we're making individually. And if you want to check out what we're making or what we're doing, especially with the holidays coming up, maybe traditions or weather, because oh my gosh, the weather today has been insane. So if you want to see all that kind of stuff, you can come check us out on our individual social media platforms. If you want to follow Wes, you can follow him at Geeksmithing. If you want to follow Sean, you can follow him at Geek Builders. And if you want to follow myself, you can follow me at Once Upon a Workbench.
And we also have a website. So if you want to send us suggestions for the show, topic ideas, anything related to the podcast, you can do so at our website, makinggeeks.com. You can also check out the shop with some Making Geeks themed merchandise for you to check out. Shirts, mugs, and some other items. And you can listen to all of our episodes right there in the browser on the homepage at makinggeeks.com. I want to thank everybody for hanging out in the live chat with us. Some funny comments and stuff coming through during the show today. It's always really cool seeing that. And if you love to be part of that fantastic group that we have showing up just about every week, you can do so. We record every Thursday evening, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, and 6:30 Pacific. And then we have new episodes of the podcast that come out every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. I think that checks all the bases for this week.
Indeed.
So from all of us to all of you, have a great holiday
Merry
and Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Merry
Spend
Christmas,
some great time
everybody.
with friends and family. And we'll see you in the new year.
Later.
Take care.